Hey everyone, welcome to another Tuesday Newsday. We are back this week, and my special guest is freelance writer Tom Leveen. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Rem. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on today.
Awesome. I need to pull my Zoom up a little bit so it looks like I'm looking at you and not down.
Gotcha.
I'm excited to talk to you about Blood Will Rise and all
Yeah.
of your writing. And we discovered some things together during tech that we'll share with the audience here.
Nice.
Um, but first, we of course have the news. And Tom did not know we do Tuesday Newsday. So we are going to take a little bit of a different course than we usually do. And I'm going to go through all of the lines just like I normally do, but I'm just going to talk to you, Tom, and tell you about all the
Okay.
cool stuff that Catalyst is doing.
Tell me.
Awesome. All right. Well, of course, Battletech is at the top of our list. Um, so we have new releases that came out this month. April 2nd was Battlefield Support Recon and Hunter Lance's Force Pack and the Inner Sphere Heavy Recon Lance Force Pack. And
Nice.
then April 16th was a very busy day for releases. It was Battlefield Support Objectives, Legendary Mech Warriors 2, Battle Mat Savannah River Delta, Salvage Box Savannah Master, Salvage Box Blood Asp, and the Battletech Cookbook.
Oh my
So all coming from the Mercenaries Kickstarter. And
God. Oh my God.
on April 18th, there was something special that dropped too. Do you know what that is?
I hope it was something really awesome and like fictiony.
Blood Will Rise
Blood
by
will rise. That was
Tom
my hope.
Leveen. Do you know him?
Not very well, I'm afraid.
Awesome. Well, we've got some cool releases coming up in May as well. May 14th is Inner Sphere Pursuit Lance Force Pack and Legendary Mech Warriors 3 and the Salvage Box Mercenaries Legendary 2 and 3. And then May 28th is slated for Inner Sphere Assault Lance, Battlefield Support Heavy Battle and Sweep Lances, and the Battle Mat City Central Park. So
Ooh,
lots of
that's
stuff coming. Yeah.
all right.
So all good stuff there. Now, Tom, you had heard about BattleTech Aces, right?
Probably.
Aces is the box set series. There's going to be 4 total, I believe, unless that's changed. That it allows for co-op and solo mode for BattleTech.
Oh,
So
I don't know if I did it.
yeah,
Wow.
Aces is coming later this year. And did you hear about BattleTech Gothic?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
good.
interesting. Radar
Awesome.
went up. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny whenever I talk about that. I watch their reactions because it's either going to be like, ooh, yeah, my radar went up, or ooh, I don't know about this.
Right. But it is, as I recall, it is not canon. Is that correct?
Correct. It's an
Okay.
alt setting entirely, so it's standalone, and there's going to be a series of these. So I'm
That's
not sure that
interesting.
we've announced what all of those are, but cool stuff is coming.
Okay. This is where I stop talking because I hear stuff like that. And like, I don't know what people know and don't know. So I just say I don't know.
Oh
You
wow,
know.
interesting.
Yep.
Well, it's also I still am need to catch up on all the Adepticon streams because that's where like a lot of announcements happen, and I wasn't there, so the team was left unsupervised, and I don't know what's been said anymore. So I need to catch up to. Okay, we're allowed to talk about that now, or you know.
Right. Non
uh,
supervision. That's not good.
yeah, it's scary time for me. I have control issues. So Shadowrun, let's see what we have on our nice little Shadowrun docket here. So May 14th should be the release of the new sourcebook margin calls. So that's coming up. Are you a Shadowrun fan at all?
I have not been of late, but another author friend of mine has written for the property in the past. So I need to catch up on it for
Awesome.
sure.
Well,
Yeah.
last year we released for the 35th anniversary, we released the reproduction of the first edition,
Oh, nice.
the core rulebook. So that's pretty fun. And
Mhm.
then later this year is Anarchy 2.0 for your rules light friends that want to get into Shadowrun.
Nice. I like it.
Yes,
It sounds good.
it's exciting. So Shadowrunning Goodness, Takedown is a board game also that is in manufacturing, is wrapping up in China for a Kickstarter that we did. So that we should be getting news about manufacturing ending pretty soon.
Nice.
Leviathans. Did you back Leviathans?
No.
This was several years ago.
Oh, okay. God, I'm like, what the?
So
No, I didn't. Tell me about Leviathan.
yeah, so Levs is a minis game. It's kind of the wartime steampunk ships in the sky minis game, and it's based off the old Leviathans game that Randall was involved with too. And that was a Kickstarter. Gosh, I think that was the summer before I started, so 2022, I think.
Wow.
And
Okay.
we've had all kinds of delays for better or worse. But the US and rest of world got shipped to our hubs trying to beat out the tariffs. So we actually are working on, we got our first round of shipping estimates from the fulfillment agency. And so now we're doing the kind of double check, make sure like, hey, why did this factor in, or what does this mean, and can you adjust for X, Y, and Z and stuff. So we're doing all of our back and forth stuff, but that's a huge step, because next up, once we've approved all of that, it'll get uploaded to backers and they can finally pay their shipping, and we can start getting fulfillment underway.
Wow.
Now for international, not US and rest of world, we didn't ship. We wanted all the US stuff to beat the tariffs, hopefully. They didn't. That's another story. And so we are trying to avoid as much of additional costs. So if we shipped everything to the US and they got tariffed, and then shipped to Canada or UK or EU or Australia, then that's more, it's more spending. So we are trying to work out some final deals with our, we have a couple of them done, I believe, for distributors in those parts of the world to do fulfillment for Leviathans. So once we have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, we'll be shipping from China to those locations and do fulfillment for those too.
Excellent.
Yeah. Good stuff. And Leviathans, if you want a taste of it, is on Tabletop Simulator for free. So you can check that out.
All right then.
Board game division.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot to talk about for board game division.
All right. Do it.
So do you remember Shadowrun Crossfire or Dragonfire?
Dragonspire sounds familiar, but I'm going to say no.
A few years ago, it was at Gen Con. It was so it started with Shadowrun Crossfire as a game, and then we skinned it in partnership with Wizards of the Coast for D&D. So that was Dragonfire. So that was that board game, and now we are partnered with Paizo and Pathfinder for Runefire. So that's the next iteration that's being worked on right now, and that's coming to Kickstarter later this year.
Nice.
So that's a big deal one. And we're releasing bi-weekly, every other week, dev blogs on our website and web store. So you can follow along and see like commentary from Randall and Paizo and stuff like that, and see what it's been like to work on this project. Also for board games, we just released at the beginning of April Flippin' Ninjas, which is kind of a like chess adjacent game. They've got these big like nice pieces, you know, like the tactile pieces when you have good like tactile pieces in a game. I just get a big kick out of that. But they the top is blank and the bottom has one of like 5 different characters. Like there's a ninja, a daimyo, a dragon, and stuff like that, and certain ones beat others. But since you don't know where they are until you reveal them by flipping them, it's like chess, a little bit of like blind chess going in.
Oh, wow.
So you're trying to take the other player's daimyo. But it's a pretty cool game. I like it. And that's on the store now. What else do we have? We have a partnership with Quincy of Quincy's Tavern. Do you know Quincy?
I don't think so,
He's
but keep going.
Yeah, he's a big, like, his whole thing is like a chill vibe, like in a tavern kind of thing, and he's put out some things of his own, like expanding the lore. And so we've got a big partnership with him now, doing uh some board games, some fiction, some swag items. Like, I'm pretty sure for Gen Con we're gonna have like Quincy's Tavern actual mugs, like that you would have at
Nice.
the tavern.
Gotta.
Um and stuff. So like that's gonna be a lot of fun. So he's a big, like, he's got like 1 million subscribers or something like that, or over 1 million.
Yeah.
So he's cool dude. So we're partnering with him. We were talking before the stream about the Voltron RPG, which we'll get to RPGs in a minute, but there's also a Voltron board game that was part of that Kickstarter.
Do you get to play test any of this stuff? Are you in that circle?
Occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we got all, whenever we're all together, which isn't that often. At conventions they'll do a little bit of it. But honestly, like, they've been really playtesting Runefire, and there's like a whole bunch of different scenarios that you can do, and so like I'm a completionist, so I don't want to like do one in the middle of the story, so I'm like, I don't want to play.
That's fair. Okay.
So I'm not in that one, but I did get to play test Voltron. It's fun. There's one part where you actually all have to get, all your paladins have to get on the same space, and then you all call out form Voltron together, and then you make the Voltron. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
We could, I mean, we won't go down this hole, but like when we talk about Voltron, I immediately go to, what about the one with the cars? There was a car one, right?
we don't have the vehicles one.
Okay, but it existed.
Yes.
Okay.
But we do have, the Kickstarter was for, there's 2 different core rule books. One is for Legendary Defender, and one is for Defenders of the Universe. So one for the old 80s and one for the new Netflix version. So whichever flavor you like.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Also for board game, we have a partnership with Kung Fu Panda. So there's going to be Street Food Showdown is a card game that's coming later this year. There's just so much. I think that's all the big stuff that's current for board game. RPGs, we've got Voltron we were talking about. We've got Frostpunk Kickstarter just ended. Thank you everyone who backed that. That was a lot of fun. We're getting the pledge manager worked out now. And even for Voltron, 85% of you guys have had your surveys completed. So if you haven't yet, please go do that so that we can get your shipping quoted and as soon as possible. RPGs, we did Frostpunk as well. That was a lot of fun, doing a partnership with 11-bit based off that video game in that world. And then the next, one of the next ones to come up later this year is Wizard Riders, which is by Matt Hirt. The world is designed by him, who is one of our layout folks here at Catalyst.
Okay.
And it is basically like Sons of Anarchy with magic.
Done.
So, yeah. So pretty excited for that to come. We did at PAX Unplugged, not this past one, but a year before, we did a playthrough of it, and it was a lot of fun to do. We did like a hazing, you want to get in the gang, you got to go through this test kind of thing. So that was a lot of fun.
Perfect.
And then we also announced through press release that we are going to be doing a reproduction. I put that in quotes for right now because I'm not fully sure what this one will mean, of Metamorphosis Alpha. So this is an old 80s, like one of the first sci-fi RPGs.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's old stuff. And we're going to be doing like, I think we're doing a revision and like fresh rules and stuff like that, but we also want to be very nostalgic of where it came from and everything. So I don't have too much news on that yet.
Is that like one person's job to like go out and find all this old IP and bring it back? or
Well,
is it like a community thing? Like, how
I,
does that even work?
I think some of it is like the industry, like it's so much networking that happens at shows and stuff like that. So someone's like, talking and they're like, oh yeah, I have this license. I don't know what to do with it. And it's like, oh, well, we do blah, blah, things happen. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's also the Vegas Licensing Expo once a year. And so I know like Randall and, or not Randall, Mike, Richie, and Lauren go each year and look around. And really, like when you think of how big Battletech Mercenaries was, that was, taking those funds and being able to invest in our future with other IPs and stuff like that as well. So,
That's
uh,
so freaking cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so I think that's everything.
All right. You say that now.
The only other thing that I want to point out in case, two things that I want to point out in case y'all didn't know. Number one, we sent a new newsletter out this week, so check your emails. And if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, you can do that on catalystgamelabs.com. Scroll to the very bottom and enter your email, and that will add you to our list. And then the other thing is, about a week ago, Lauren released on social media, and we did through press release as well, a statement from him on tariffs and its impact to the industry. So,
Yeah.
did you take a look at that?
I did. Yep.
Yeah. It's a really scary place that the industry's in right now, and he does a really good job breaking down what this does to costs for a publisher. So following that, like Catalyst is finalizing its plans for how we're going to get through this, and we've been watching because things change almost weekly as we go. So anytime we make a plan, it's like, scratch that, do this now.
Yeah.
But we are going to be putting out a communication. He put one out a couple weeks before the big tariff one, saying that yes, prices are going to be increasing within the next 60 days, and that's coming up here. So check that newsletter so that you can get anything that you want before prices go up. Sure. But yeah, it's a scary time, and so looking at how we're gonna batten down the hatches and get through this period is a scary thing. So,
yep. Yep. You're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot going on out there. Every day there's new news. So, well, Tom.
Yes.
That was all my Catalyst news. So we're gonna switch on over and talk about you.
Oh, all right. Let's go.
So we were talking before this, before we went live, and your first writing credit was in which Shrapnel?
Shrapnel number 5, June of 2021.
Wow.
Story in there. Yeah.
Now, do you remember, I know it was a few years ago and we've all tried to repress COVID as much as possible, yes. But like, did you start writing for Battle? Do you do your submission during COVID? Was it way before and it finally got picked? How did that?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. So I think if we're pinning COVID at this top of 2020 or 2019, I don't remember now. We were in the thick of it.
2019, about March was when everything started closing.
Okay, that's all right. So, no, I think it was after that then. I don't think it took, a full year to go from the submission to the publication, but it was, as I recall, it was several months, because the backlog for Shrapnel is so big, and I know Phil is just up to his eyeballs and that kind of stuff. But it was, it was a few months or so, I think. And I'm trying to remember exactly where because it kind of cropped up suddenly. I didn't realize, I mean, I've been playing or had been playing Battletech since early 90s, I think probably is when I was first introduced to it. And then from my perspective, it kind of fell off the edge of the earth and was gone as far as I knew. And we're still, like, I brought up my props. We're still using our, BT, what is this? 2750. Like, that's what we were still playing with all through the 90s. We didn't know there was anything else. And then I'm trying to remember where, like, it came up to, like, oh, and Shrapnel's a thing. Like, no, Battletech is back, and it's not just back. Like, it's back in a big way, which was awesome to hear. And then to find out that there was a lot more fiction coming along with it was like, oh, really? Well, that might be
Fiction,
kind of
you
cool.
say?
Fiction, yes, sir. I mean, so like, yeah, 16-year-old me is flipping out about all of this right now. Like, I am just so excited to be a part of the IP and the lore and everything.
That's
I
awesome.
I feel like there's a very statistical chance that I heard about it from Mike Stackpole. He and I go back quite a ways, and we probably either ran into each other or were texting or like something. I have no idea, but there's a good chance he brought it up, and I was like, really? And he was probably like, you should write something, and so I did. Something
Awesome.
like that.
Cool. So stepping, I guess, before your contributions for Catalyst, how did you get into writing?
So, how far back do you want to go? Like just the
Uh-huh.
immediate? um, so I wrote my first story in second grade, and I had, how every school had that one teacher you didn't want to get. I
Mm.
had her second grade, and she scared me to death. And we had an assignment to write a short story. For those of you in the audience who are old enough to remember that recycled brown paper where you practice handwriting with the blue lines on it,
Yes.
right? Okay, so I'm old, but some of you know. Um, we were supposed to write a short story on this paper, so I did. And then she calls me up to her desk and she goes, I want you to rewrite this and make it longer. And tomorrow morning you're going to read it to the first graders. And I'm like, what did I do? Like I'm being punished for something, I'm so sure, right? Turns out I was not being punished at all. So I read it, I rewrote it. She read it. She's like, great, go next door. So I go next door to the first graders and I'm standing there with my little paper because everybody loves public speaking, right? Just, oh my God, I'm just terrified. I'm in second grade. And then I looked up and there's 30 first graders and they're all like they couldn't wait to see what was
Ooh.
going to happen next. And I, honest to God, I was like, what, 7 or 8 or something. And I was like, gotcha. This is cool. And like from that moment on, I'm like, I want to tell stories and I want to be up in front of people. And so, kind of from that point, I was either writing something or doing some kind of performance. And that led to doing acting and directing in live theater for about 22 years, starting in, I think I was in eighth grade when that started. And that's also when I wrote my first novel. It was a fantasy novel. And then I just kept writing for the fun of it and started a theater company in my backyard, kind of on accident. Didn't really mean to do that. And sometime when that was finally starting to close down, I started taking writing a little bit more seriously and deciding like I would love to walk into a bookstore. Like we had this great, a couple of great independent bookstores in Phoenix where I'm from, and I was like, I want to be able to go to Changing Hands or Poison Pen and see a book that I wrote. So I started
Oh,
that whole process and sold my first novel in 2008 to Penguin Random House, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow. I,
good
I
fun.
really want to be friends with you. My degree's in acting. I had that aha moment too. I worked at a Ren fair when I was a
Of course.
sophomore in high school, and
Yep.
I did it for the summer. And I was cast as a tree fairy,
Nice.
and I was in the I was in the final joust fight, and the blacksmith kicked my butt and knocks me out. But of course, at the end, you're all friends again and stuff like that.
Sure.
And the next hour, I was watching Fairyland, and this little girl ran up to me sobbing and hugged my legs. And I looked at her mom like, "What's going on?" And she said she saw you got hurt in the fight. And I was like, "Well, this is what I'm doing with my life."
Yep. It's funny how that happens. Like it's this instant,
Yep.
like, and at that point, you're not thinking about I'm gonna make a bunch of money, I'm gonna be famous. Like, no, this is just what I'm gonna
Yep.
do, and whatever happens, happens. So yeah,
That's
I totally
awesome.
get that.
Oh, cool. So you started writing. What have you done? Did you start working for any IPs? Did you write for yourself, your own stories? What tell me your kind of trajectory.
Yeah, so it was mostly for myself. It was like my second novel that was published called Zero. I wrote the first draft in my first year of college, and it was 19 years later that it got published. Obviously not in that form. It was it was rewritten several times in between. Um, but I tend to not let those old stories go, and
Mm.
so it's a lot of my old stuff. I started more in horror because that's kind of where I grew up in. We had the little independent video rental stores and stuff on the corner back when that was a thing, and as a very proud Gen Xer, I would come home with things like Tourist Trap and Creep Show and all this stuff, and nobody cared. Nobody stopped us, and we'd watch this stuff, all night long, and just had a great time, and without any parental supervision whatsoever. So that was a big influence on me, and most of what I wrote. Until I was a little bit older and kind of getting into college and early 20s, and started writing more about what was happening in real life at that point. And that ended up being what got picked up by publishers, was this sort of young adult, late teens kind of era. Very, again, like 80s inspired John Hughes, that kind of stuff, Bearing Our Souls and all that kind of good stuff. And that's where I really started working professionally at first. And as a result of that, I was then able to make some inroads into other genres like horror
Cool.
and things like that. The only other IP, though, that I did, I'm pretty sure, before BattleTech was for Spawn. I got to write some issues of
Ooh.
that several years ago, kind of, again, almost accidentally. And that was a great gig. That was a really cool gig. And the great thing about working on IP is you get to sit at the feet of people who have just mastered elements of storytelling that other authors really aren't exposed to, honestly. And so to play in someone else's world and to have to structure within guardrails is a very different approach, but a lot of fun too, because it's just really cool to get in there and ask questions like, well, can I do this? And sometimes you're like, yeah, that's a great idea. And other times like, don't you ever do that again? Like, okay, sorry. Just
That's
depends on the
awesome.
IP, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Intimidating is how I would put it, but
Yeah. Hmm.
but also exciting to contribute to worlds that people love so much and
Yeah.
have built on and be part of that legacy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it's one of those things that like it can't ever be taken away, like for as long as BattleTech goes on and on and on, like I will always have that one little piece of the puzzle down at the bottom corner, that will always kind of be mine. And that's just really cool. And I couldn't wait. As soon as it was okay to tell my friends, I'm just on the phone like, you guys, BattleTech, oh my God, and they were just having a great time with that. And it's really cool for
that's
sure.
awesome. So you found out about Shrapnel. However, you found out about Shrapnel. Started writing for that. How many contributions do you have across Shrapnel?
Oh my goodness. So I did, let's see, probably 3 or 4 short stories. And then a couple for, I think some of the Kickstarters actually for like bonus material, and I think some bonus material for some of the game packages and stuff like that. And then I think I'm pretty sure I pitched Phil a serial novel or novella, which was Three Ways Home. And that was in 3 successive issues, which then I think led to a standalone novella. That was Emerald Sword for the Jade Falcon stuff. And then that led to Blood Will Rise. So it was kind of
Awesome.
they were very deliberate, and I really appreciated this about them, because I think I wrote 1 or 2 short stories. I shouldn't tell this story. I wrote 1 or 2 short stories, and then I think I emailed one of the guys. I was like, "Can I write a book?" And they're like, "Easy, cowboy. Just let's slow this down a little bit. Let's just get some more stories, and then we'll work our way." But in retrospect, 100% right to do that.
Yeah,
It was very much a stair step kind of thing. Like we're gonna do this, and then this, and then this, and see how things go. And one thing definitely led to another. And yeah, in hindsight, that was absolutely the right call on a number
awesome.
of different levels. And I really appreciate them helping me and guiding me through that process.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you said, I'm sorry, was it three or four novels now that you've written?
For BattleTech?
Yeah.
No, so just the one novel,
Oh, okay.
one novella, and one serialized, I think, novella, and then the short stories.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. So, do you have a favorite group, faction, unit to
Ooh.
write for? And
Oh wow. So well, I mean, I've definitely had a huge crash course for Blood Will Rise, and like had to go just dive into the deep end of the pool for those guys, which was fun and challenging both. But the Concordat and off in the periphery, which is where my serialized novella takes place, I really liked those guys. They had a really cool political system that I was very attracted to. Like, this is fun. I like how they kind of think of things. So I would not mind revisiting that at some point in the
Cool.
future, and may or may not. You never know. But I'm for me, the focus with my theater background, I tend to focus. I come into a story with character first,
Mm.
which is it's a different way of doing things when you're working in an IP, whether that's Spawn or BattleTech or Star Wars or whatever. It doesn't matter because you have these very specific parameters you have to stay in. And I'm coming at it kind of from this angle and like, well, but I want to write about this. So
Mm.
where in the lore does that fit, and can I make that kind of work? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, anyway, the Taurians have been I liked being in there for sure, but I liked all of them. They're all fun to learn
Cool.
about. And there's so much. I mean, my God,
So
the lore just goes on forever. So there's so much to pick from.
did you have you picked up BattleTech Universe yet?
Did I? No, not yet.
The primer for everything. I feel like I would be lost without that in terms of inspiration for writing. But
Oh, for sure.
um,
No, I get it. I get it.
cool. So you talked about in when writing for IPs, like you're within these guardrails and you're contributing like toward what someone else has put into place before you.
Yeah.
And especially so with Blood Will Rise, because it's the sequel to Blood Will Tell, correct?
Yes, it is. Correct.
What was that like, that process?
I'm looking through my notes here. I mean, it was cool in a lot of ways. I mean, it was okay. It was cool. Full stop. Period. Um, Let me just make sure I'm saying this correctly. But one of the things that was kind of nice about it is I think that was Jason, right? Had this whole novel written and done, and it was out and published and everything. So, and I had access to that, and so the foundation was already there. I didn't have to come in with
Mm,
this, and create things out of thin air. He'd already done a lot of that work. Plus, it was connected and interwoven so deeply with the eyes only
mm,
stuff that was coming out that again those parameters were very very specific, and I'm sure some writers and some authors might chafe at that and be like, no, I gotta do my own kind of thing, and I wasn't sure how I was going to respond to it honestly, because the other BattleTech work I've done was pretty loosey goosey. Like there weren't a lot of guardrails there for me. For Blood Will Rise, it was like, this is eyes only. This is this timeline. This is these 3 years. Here's what happens. You cannot deviate from this. After that, do what you want, but stay here. It was, and I found that I was actually quite comfortable working like that. It was in a sense, it was easier because there there weren't as many opportunities to go on these little flights of fancy and go completely off in the weeds and then end up having to get pulled back.
mm.
So I appreciated actually not having to be the first in the series on that, and the book was cool anyway. It was such a good read, and getting to know the characters that he had built out it was just cool. It was a lot of fun.
Were there any little threads that were left like unexplored that got you excited when you read through that stuff that you were excited to explore on it when you did the sequel?
Yes. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not say.
Well,
Like I know the
the book is
book is
out. We don't want to
out.
make spoilers, but I guess like do you have any examples of threads within BattleTech as a whole, maybe that you've used, maybe not even for Blood Will Rise, but like, ooh, I saw this and that they left that unexplored, and I was like, that's mine, or
Yeah.
what
No,
has
I
excited you?
I think it's probably okay. This is not a secret. I immediately, and I think it was in the first couple of chapters, if I remember correctly, from Blood Will Tell, the Noah Danai relationship, which is a
Mm.
very professional relationship in that book. But like under the surface, and I would love to talk with Jason about that and see if he implanted things in there or if it was just me making them up. But I was like, is there more going on here? Is there some kind of relationship brewing under here? And it's not in the book. It's definitely not in Blood Will Tell, at least on the surface, to be sure. At least I don't think it is. So that was one of the threads for Blood Will Rise, where that is it's I don't think it even rises to the level of subplot, but like it's there.
Cool.
It is definitely there. And I think that was the reason that was attractive to me is again coming from a place where I focus on character first most of the time. That's the kind of cool and fun thing to explore in a character like Danai, who is, I mean, honestly, I mean, she is coming into the, particularly at the top of Blood Will Rise. This is a woman of immense power. Like she has not only as a warrior, but as a political operative and as royalty and as like all this stuff. She has got so much power, and she's almost at the head of uh, presumably the most powerful military in the Inner Sphere at this point in time. Did she ever get a crush on anybody? Like, he's human, you know, and I think, you know, the best, and it's not just BattleTech, but any IP, any of these genre novels really as a whole, the best ones I think are the ones where we can delve into those little character things like that, even if it's not the plot of the story. And certainly, you know, Noah and Danai is not the plot of Blood Will Rise by any stretch, but is it an important thread? By the time you get to the end, I will tell you, yes, it is.
Mhm.
I can say for sure. But investigating those little trails of character that like that round the character out, so it's not just giant stompy robots, which I like giant stompy robots, but I care about the people inside the giant stompy robots. You know, that's
Cool.
the piece that I like.
That's awesome. Oh, I like that phrase. I'm gonna steal it. Um, that's awesome. All right, so um, tell us a little bit of like set the scene for us from Blood Will Tell, since that's been out for quite a while. We're
Mhm.
allowed to spoil that at this point.
Okay.
So where does that story leave off, and what can we expect from Blood Will Rise?
So Danai has just the book literally, as I recall, ends with Danai talking to McCarran from the Big Mac, and how he thinks things are going, and that's a relatively tense conversation. It's almost like they have this conversation, the end, like, oh, okay, shit, something like we know this is gonna pick up somewhere, and we got to see where this is gonna play out, and then we very quickly sort of transition into Danai being back on, I think it's been so long since I've seen all my stuff. Liberty, I believe. Yeah, she starts off on Liberty and is trying to, you know, make sure that the insurgency there is done and trying to rebuild and bring people into the Confederation and all that kind of stuff. And it's not going all that well, but it's not going bad. And she's also kind of coming to this realization of like, this is not where I want to be. Like speaking of giant stompy robots, like that's where I'm me is when I'm on board and just leveling other mechs, you know, but she can't because she's the boss, right?
Yeah.
And this sees her and some of her subordinates seeing this in her and saying, "You got to get out of here. You need a vacation. So go." And so she visits Castrovia, which is her duchy. Is it duchy, duchy? I don't know how to say that word. I only ever see it
I think
written.
it's Duchy,
Is it duchy?
although I now want to call it Dookie forever.
Right? And so like I hear myself say like that's got to be wrong. There's no way. I
Yeah.
can't. This is the
From
problem. You
in my prolific experience in my Ren Fair days, it's Duchy.
Dutch. Okay, I'm gonna go with duchy. So Danai's duchy is that whole world, and she goes there, and that was really cool to play in because no one had done that yet. She hadn't been there before. That wasn't part of the lore yet. So I got to go in there and build that world, that little section of her world, and meet some characters who you wouldn't normally meet, like on a battlefield, for example,
Mm.
which was really cool. And then things go really south on the little world of Sheraton, which has a long history of insurgency. They don't like anybody being on their world, and they don't like the Confederation being there. And she gets called upon to come kind of square that away and put down another insurgency because that's the reputation she's been developing over the last, you know, book and a half at this point. And that goes horribly wrong, really, really bad, which was fun, a lot of fun to dive into. And I won't ruin that, but some things happen there and get squared away to some degree or another, though not the way she would have preferred.
Mm.
And then from that point, kind of about the midway through the book, we pick back up with all of the things that Daoshin is up to. And I won't spoil those things because that guy is bringing out some big guns. And we had some very animated discussions about those big guns during the course of the
Ooh.
writing between me and the developers, and it's gonna mess some stuff up, man.
Wow.
Which will be cool. So, and I think I'll stop it there.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, I love the inspo to pick up the books and take a look at this.
Yeah.
The cover is great too. I did not
Yeah.
get a cover to Tyler, unfortunately,
Mm.
but you should check it out. It is on the Catalyst store. I dropped the link in the chat. Now I'm gonna ask you one more question before I flip to Q&A from the chat.
Okay.
If there was any IP you could write for, what would you choose?
Oh my gosh. I'm sure there is. As soon as we get off the call, I'm gonna think of a bunch of them. I was never attracted necessarily to the big ones. Like I've had this conversation with a couple people. Like if Star Wars called, it's like we want you to do this. I'm gonna say yes. Like I'm not an idiot, but I wouldn't. It's not something that's like on my list. Like oh, that would really be super
Yeah.
cool. And I think honestly, to go back to our news conversation, honestly, and like how I kind of like lit up when I saw the Voltron stuff. Like, oh, Voltron,
Yeah.
woo, like that's cool. Now, Voltron, you've got Voltron and then Star Wars. Like on that spectrum, like Voltron's big, but not Star Wars,
Yeah.
right? So those things, while cool, and I would do them if asked, like it's the Voltrons, it's the little, the not little, but the smaller properties, I think would be so much more fun because of the audience, because
Mm.
of the fans. Like, because I'm a con guy from way back from the last 10 or 15 years with my own work, and cons are our second home. Like my whole family's involved now. The kids are schlepping the books, and I'm doing panels with Mike and all that, this kind of stuff. I love cons because it's so safe and family and like you can be whoever you want there and that kind of stuff. And those fandoms are just the greatest in my experience. They are so great, Battletech included, so incredible. And I think with the smaller ones that aren't as big as a Star Wars property, for example, you get to have more fun with those fans, and you
Mm.
get to listen in and see what they're talking about and like what they like and what they don't like and what they want and don't want. And so sorry, blathering on a lot.
It's
I'm
great.
I'm trying to think like of like movies and stuff like that that would just jump out, but yeah, as soon as we get off the call, I'm gonna think of a dozen. You know what? There is a very, very small, I think it's probably still pretty small, role-playing game called the Hero System. And I think they're on their sixth edition, maybe even
Ooh,
seventh now. But I came up on the fourth edition, and I've always been like, ooh, I don't think they ever really did any fiction, but I'm like, can I do fiction for you guys? Because that would be so cool. It's a superhero kind of role-playing game.
cool.
That would just be satiating. Like that's just
Awesome.
just like a private goal. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, we'll see. We'll
Well, if
see.
you think of more, you can leave them in the comments of the
Yes, I
the show
will.
after the fact. Um, that's awesome. Okay, so let's switch on over to Q&A. Let me bring up my mod list from my wonderful mods. Thank you guys.
What about Johnny Quest? That would be fun,
Oh, that would be cool.
right? Like the old cartoons, like that would be a super fun world. They did some cool. Remember the spider thing? Ah,
Mm-hmm.
so cool. Sorry, I'm
That's
back.
awesome. I love my mods named this Q&A doc, the top of the one for this episode, month of April, the 29th day in the year 2025.
Wow,
Oh, dorks. I
that's
love you
hardcore.
guys. Questions for our esteemed guest, Tom Leveen. They're
Whew.
keeping the brand going here.
Oh, that's good.
Um,
That's good to be esteemed.
Jason Ames asks, what do you think about the interplay between Daoshin Lao and Denai Centrella? Make a Capellan fan out of you? Oh, that's a question. Did it make a Capellan fan out of you?
That's a great question. It kind of did because I wasn't given a lot of specificity about Daoshin, but there were one or two things that I won't share because I'm not sure if they would be too spoilery, but one or two things like he can't do this and he can't do that. Outside of that, you've got a little bit of room. Like, okay. And again, there were some connections to Eyes Only that like I had to make sure fit into the structure of the story and some conversations that absolutely had to happen. And then after that, like, hey, have some fun, do what you want to do. And because there weren't as many rules around Danai. She had a lot more flexibility, I think, than actually he did. which meant I got to build her, or continue building, I should say, off of Blood Will Tell, and have some really fun exchanges with the two of them. And again, being a theater kid, my default is dialogue. That is always what I'm going to go toward first, rather than really in-depth description, because like I just want to get characters in there wrestling around with each other verbally. Um, and those two characters have very different worldviews and a very, what's a good word to say? Interesting history, I guess,
Mm.
in the family. I don't know. So keeping all of those plates spinning and while still following the necessary plot elements was a lot of fun. And I would say, to answer your question, yes, I would say that was a big attraction and making me a Capellan fan for sure. They were
Awesome.
great.
Cool. Jason also asks if you could choose the next successor Lord to write the next big novel about, who is it and why?
Oh, crap. You mean like across the entire universe? Like just like,
It doesn't put, there's no limits.
damn. Well, okay, again, I can't talk too much about Blood Will Rise, so I got to back off of that real quick. I think, not really one of the lords. What's her name? Danai's best buddy makes an appearance later in the book. They don't get to see each other because they're in different worlds and different things are going on. Shoot, if anybody in the chat can remind, because it's just been so long, she's only in the book for a little while. Um, shoot, not
uh,
Ilsa.
Nickel,
Yes, yes, I would.
Jason Hadja.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Nickel, I would. I'd like to see where she ends up. I know that she's not like, uh, one of the main um, folks on the battle space right now, but like she was fun for as little time as I got to spend with her. Her relationship with Danai is really interesting and fun, and I would like to see, because she's off doing a bunch of stuff right now during the course of Blood Will Rise, and I would love to follow up on that at some point and see where she ends up after the the incidences, the story of Blood Will Rise ends would be a lot of cool. So that would be my vote. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
Yeah,
I did. Okay.
absolutely.
God.
These are great. I've got questions for Rem, she of pink hair and laughter. Questions about Shadowrun, long the torch that lit CGL's way. Questions about Battletech, provider of money for all sorts of things.
It is.
You guys are good. I'm assuming this is Lorcan.
Yeah.
Okay, so question, will CGL be honoring the community chosen cough? Okay, the Lorcan chosen name for the new mule of so NUMUL of Mule 2C, Master Unit List MUL 2C version 2 CGL. And there's a link apparently for me to research. You can just DM me, Lorcan, if you want.
Yeah, that is beyond my pay grade, I can tell you right now.
Unknown. Questions about Levs. Wargers asks, what is the current estimate of when fulfillment will start? 2 weeks, end of May, sooner, longer? End of May? I think by the time, because we still have to, at least for North America and rest of world, because we still have to finish looking at the stuff, get the uploads to go through and work. Then after Mercenaries, probably give it a little time so that our community can see if anything like that we might have got missed that we need to circle back on. Then and if it does, then we're going to need to go back and get those fixed. But if not, then it's how soon does everyone get their payment in, and when do we apply those the payment, and then we can send the list and get it segmented and sorted and over to the fulfillment agencies. So I'd say end of May-ish, give or take, unless we run into trouble or something. But
I have to say, I love, because I'm a big Kickstarter fan myself, and I've used it multiple times and had some great campaigns, and I love how they have allowed companies like Catalyst to come back and like listen directly to the fans and talk about all the cool stuff that they can do and the options and the just all the different levels of rewards and stuff like that. I think that's so awesome. It's a great time to be, well, in many ways, it is a great time to be a creator.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
Right? Like there's
Tariffs
some
are not one
downsides.
of those ways.
Right.
But let's see. We've got any questions? No, I think that was it. Do we have any last minute questions that are
Dare I ask?
yeah, they said attention Remethy Alternis. None of these funny things were me loving kisses Lorcan. Oh, okay, so is it Dave? Dave, are you being my clever funny one? But any last minute questions can pop through the chat here. I'm gonna check live. I know Jason said near the top of the chat. Let me see if I can find it again, if it'll let me scroll up that much. I thought he had said that he Blood Will Rise is one of his favorites now.
Oh God, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate that. That is good to hear because we don't know until you guys get it, you know. So thank you.
I'm scrolling through. Oh, and then Lorcan did ask me as well, and I almost forgot, but I just remembered. Thanks, Andrew Brown, for posting it in the chat. Catalyst demo team is going to be at UK Games Expo. This year, we unfortunately will not have a booth presence there because of tariffs and some other things. We just have to pull back on some of our con presence for the year. But yeah, it sucks. But the demo team will be there with, I think he said, Shadowrun, Leviathans, Battletech. Let me scroll through my chat and find it.
Cool gig.
Yeah, and there's links to everything. So let me actually, Lorcan, since you have those links, if you want to drop those in chat, that would be great. So if you are making it to UK Games Expo, if you're not, you should, and you should go see the demo team and play some games.
Where in the UK is it?
Where is UK Games Expo? Yeah. I think it's in. I think it's in Manchester, but let me double check that. I've never been, so
well, that's a
goals.
Yeah.
Plan your visit. Let's see. At the expo.
I mean, it sounds cool. I mean, it's the UK.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's gotta be awesome. I mean, I want to go regardless, but
right.
Yeah, I don't see the address easily on here. Hobby Games Convention. Oh no, that's not it. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's got to be on their website, but or maybe Lorcan will tell me. Man. But yeah, good stuff. What else do we have? We got Jason's questions. I think that's Birmingham. Hi, Chris Fry. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you. I just scrolled back to the bottom. So Birmingham is there. Andrew Brown's going to be there all 3 days. Yay! Thank you so much. Stop by and say hi and play some games. I really was hoping I would be able to go this year, but maybe next year. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's about it since we don't have more questions. Anything you'd like to plug that you've got coming up before we say goodbye?
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. Just hit the website, the usual, tomleveen.com, or on my socials. As long as you spell my last name correctly, you will find me. I'm the only one out there.
Leveen.
That is correct. Yep. Always got something brewing. Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys for joining. I believe next week we are going to have a special guest, Jennifer Bixby, to talk about the cookbook and that whole process. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we're gearing up as well. I'm sure that we'll probably have Lauren on to talk tariffs and the state of things in the next coming weeks as well. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thanks, everybody.